Look at all those pieces on the chessboard. They all move in different ways, and if you haven't been playing chess for very long, it can be quite complicated. So one way to improve your chess is to play simpler games with fewer pieces. In this video, I'm going to give you some examples of mini-games. Most people find the queen easy to play with because it can move in any direction, forwards, backwards, side to side, along the diagonals. Mini-games will give you the chance to practice with the other pieces. Anyway, that's enough waffle from me. Let's take a look at an example. The simplest game is pawns against pawns. All the usual rules for pawns apply, so they can move 2 squares on their first move, and only 1 square after that. They capture enemy pawns diagonally, and don't forget the en passant rule. You can play this game with 4 pawns, 6 pawns, or even a full set of 8 pawns each. To win the game, you must get a pawn safely to the end of the board. If a player can't move, then the game is a draw. Let's watch a game. Black has advanced the c-pawn 2 squares, but white has a pawn on the 5th rank next to it. So white can take the black pawn en passant, but it must be on the next move. White can capture the black pawn as if the black pawn had only moved 1 square, as if the black pawn had moved to c6. And now this white pawn will get to the end. White doesn't care about this pawn. White's pawn is safely to the end, so that's a win for white. So you can play pawns against pawns, and the winner is the first player to get a pawn safely to the end of the board. But you can also play pawns against pieces. For games pawns against pieces, you need to remember how much each of the pieces is worth, because white will need to start the game with the right number of pawns. So you can't play with a queen, because a chess set only has 8 white pawns, but you can play a bishop or knight against 3 pawns, or 2 of them against 6 pawns, a rook against 5 pawns, or a rook and either a bishop or knight against 8 pawns. So how does this work? Let's look at bishop and knight against 6 pawns. Black chooses which of the starting squares the pieces will begin on, and then white chooses which of the starting squares the pawns will begin on. So how do you win a game of pawns against pieces? White wins by getting a pawn safely to the end, or by taking all of black's pieces, and black wins by capturing all of white's pawns. If a player can't move, then the game is a draw. Anyway, let's watch a game. White's pawn is safely to the end, so that's a win for white. By practicing with only 1 or 2 pieces at a time, the way you use your pieces in a full game of chess should improve. And if you want to make your minigame more advanced, then each side adds a king on its starting square.